Fellow tennis nerds, I'm here with Daniel. You know him from previous videos. We usually sit here under the ball tree, as we call it, and discuss tennis things, tennis gear mainly, and also tennis philosophy. And he used to play with the previous edition of this racket, which was the
TFX
98 version 2. Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. Welcome to another racket review. This time we look at the update of the relatively new line of rackets from Tecnifibre called TFX1. It's an odd name, you might think, but it's an interesting racket for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
But it was the first 98, so that's where kind of my head was like, ooh. This is now called the Fire. And I was at the Tecnifibre event in Paris and Rotterdam, and they kind of revealed this racket. It's yellow, still has the dampening technology here. You played with it yesterday, and you played with the other one a lot. So what did you feel like from like the first impressions just playing with this racket?
First of all, it looks better.
Yes.
That's the first thing you can notice. It's glossy, which is great. I think they're going back to glossy paint, which is really nice. I like it way more. It feels more solid on impact. I don't think the feel is necessarily completely different, but
No.
this is just a better version of it. Like it's like it feels a bit stiffer, but it's not uncomfortable. I really enjoyed this kind of tech they have here. They have like this steel insert.
Yeah, it's like a
there.
rod, you know, and then the weight, it's supposed to be like the same with skyscrapers. That's how they explain it, like that it's like a counterbalance to the vibration. It balances the vibrations that would happen if you have like an earthquake and there's skyscrapers, you know.
Yeah, and this makes it very playable in my opinion. Yep. So like you still feel somewhat connected to what happens on the string bat, but it's not too harsh to the arm. Like you restrung it now. I played it yesterday with a different string. I felt the string was not the best in this racket.
No, it was their new spin string, and it's kind of firm. And I felt like in this racket, this was at 51 pounds, 23 kilo. I felt like it was a bit too firm for the racket, to be honest. Now we have Tourline A5, which is my new favorite string, kind of. One of my favorite strings for sure. And it played much better today. I played already an hour. You're gonna play with it soon, so we're gonna add your thoughts afterwards. But I really feel like now the racket shines pretty much. Like it's quite dampened. Like I don't feel exactly maybe in every spot where I hit it in the sweet spot, but it's so easy to play, and like you know, you can create spin. You have good power. It's pretty easy depth for a 98, I would say, right?
Yes, and also the power level for a 98 is crazy. So, but you get this kind of dampened feel usually now with the more power rackets, right? Yeah. So it's a bit more dampened, but I don't feel this is completely disconnected to what you have with some rackets that you don't know what is happening on the string bat. This is still a power racket.
I really like this one.
But like I really like the feel. Yesterday we played with that was great. Like I could just take it out of the box, and it has pretty high swing weight stock.
But so it's a bit lower than the previous one, because I think the previous one straight out of the box was almost like 340, at least my copy of it.
The one I had was around 335, so that was pretty high. This is a bit lower, but still, I could just pick it up and play. This is a great racket.
Yeah, I think well done, Tecnifibre. I think it's they did all the necessary like input, grip shape. It's still the same, but like I feel with this grip somehow it's slightly better than I think with the T-Fights. I'm not sure why, but like I feel maybe I usually get like samples of grip 2, and now I get grip 3, and it feels pretty good, right? Or do you have any like thinking around the grip shape when you also play with the previous generation? Because some people cannot play with the Tecnifibre rackets due to the very rectangular shape, right?
Yeah, what I did the last time, I got an L4, removed the overgrip, got a thin overgrip, and then I put some lead on the side. So I rounded it just slightly, so that was fine. But like I'm used to like the old hat grip back in the day, which were also like this, but now I cannot play with it anymore, like it comfortably. So this is when I'm like played around with it a bit, it was great.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, I think they've done a great job. I think gloss always wins in general.
Yes.
I mean, even in a yellow color, I think the naming is much better because people don't really remember like TFX1.
And TFX1 V2 98, like come on, no one understands what you're talking
It's too
about.
much of a code, you know, code lingo, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's not great. Very easy to pick up and play. The 100 is obviously more powerful. You haven't tried that. I tried it in Paris. And in Rotterdam, I felt like maybe a bit too much power still for that racket, but I feel like the 98 just slots in perfectly. Question to discuss here is like, do you think they need like a spin line because they have a spin prototype that some pros are testing for that's more like spin oriented? I feel like this is pretty spinny as well, so I'm not sure like they need another line in the Tecnifibre racket lineup. Do you think so?
No, I don't think they need one. This is also, I think for a 98 the string bed is very open, so you get a lot of like lift naturally on the ball with the racket. And most of the time it's just the player, right? It's the swing path. So if like I feel this racket is pretty decent for both things, like getting some spin on the ball, but also flattening the balls out. So sometimes you have this with other brands that they tend, like when they have a spin racket, that it's really difficult to flatten the ball out. You don't have this with this racket. This is pretty overall great spin power. I would say more power than spin, but you still get decent spin with it. I don't think it's necessary that you kind of get this spin thing. Because this is also pretty stiff. I feel like the other brands have the spin rackets a bit like softer than the power rackets. This is still pretty stiff racket. So it's more power, but I don't think they need necessarily a new line.
I'm starting to question the idea of needing both spin and power rackets because I feel like most rackets are kind of becoming one these days. So like a modern racket these days need power and need spin. And also with the new arrows, I felt like, especially with the 100, that the ball goes a bit naturally more like an E-zone, like a bit more flat, but still has some spin, you know. It's not like a spin-free racket. So I feel like it's probably would be easier for the consumer if they just make like the E-zone and V-core one thing, you know. Then they would, for example, make them very similar. And I feel like the Pure Drive is getting a little bit more spin, and the like Pure Arrow is getting a little bit more power, so they are like getting closer, and I feel like at some point maybe we don't need, like, it gets kind of confusing to have a spin and a power category, I feel like.
Yeah, talking confusing, we talk hat then.
Yeah. That's the most confusing.
But
too many.
But I agree with that statement 100%. I feel like you don't need necessarily a racket that does one thing well and the other not. Like you have to have a balance
in everything.
Yes, and this racket does it pretty well overall.
Yeah, I would say like this is kind of a role model for a 98 that has power and some spin.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players would like it. It feels comfortable enough with the right string choice. Don't string too high because I think it is still a firm racket. So if you have a stiff racket, you put a stiff string and put a high tension, you're going to have problems no matter what you're doing in the layup. But overall, the pattern I think is kind of perfect with some density here, but getting a little bit more open towards the side, so you get a bit more forgiveness. You get enough of a lift, but nothing crazy. You can still flatten out the ball, as you said. And easy pop. Easy pop, pretty good feel, like on drop shots and things like that as well. So overall, like I think a big improvement from the TFX1. You know?
Yes, 100%.
So well done, Tecnifibre. They entered the power discussion now, because I think with the TFX1 it was a bit wild, and they struggled to probably get through like and compete with pure drives and E-zones and V-cores and all that. So now they have a good contender. I think it could be interesting for them now, as the T-Fight has been doing really well, and I feel like now this can be a really good choice. So they have a bit more of arsenal of rackets, you know. Good. We're gonna go out on court and try it now. It's time for our court time.
Yeah, let's go.
Thanks for watching. Put your comments and questions down below, and we'll see you soon. Have a nice day and
don't forget to play
some tennis.